research methodology, especially for final year project. Okay, students are going to do the project, and those projects may contain different aspects. Different aspects to the scientific one. We need some scientific procedures to follow. On those regards. In general, matter. So we're going to see out the type of research we are going to do. As I said, what does research? Okay? So once about the research, the concept, then we can see about the research. If you know the research, how to we do have one side. On one side, first we have to know about the title. What title we are going to choose. Then, if there is any title, we want to know about the abstract or executive summary, which we are going to do. So, you know, that depends on at the proposal level. Okay, and when you are going to do your research, that means in between. And situations. Again, whenever you are preparing your title, your research, you should focus on the problem statement. What kind of problem drives you to do your research? Let us say, suppose we have a shortage of water in Adama town. Okay, we have a shortage of town in Awasa town, Addis Ababa town. So is that causes you to do your problem? So you should focus on that areas. Let us say a building collapse in some cities, or a bridge collapse, or failure due to highway, or embankment, dams, work. There are different aspects. So which drives you to these situations? Then what is the contributions? Is the research is that some contribute to the academic society, to the community service? Okay, so you should focus on that cases. Then again, we can see about the literature review. Especially the literature review is you are going to collect some of the journals, articles, or some books, or from any website, from television or wherever. But that has related to your work. Especially to be better if we choose the literature that has related to your work with recent one. Let us say now we are in 2020. Okay, if you choose some of the literature review from 2010 up to 22, maybe 10 years, or something, 2000 to now, maybe 20 years. Because whenever you are choosing that cases, we can see that if you choose, for instance, one of the journals or articles in 2019, means it's a cumulative effect that will help you in your areas. Of course, you should acknowledging your sources. Whenever you are using that sources, you should acknowledge. That means we have, plagiarism is there, especially plagiarism is one of the case which you copy 100% the sources from one areas. When at least you should rewrite in your own language, by different communications. And again, give credit to that journal, that persons, that author. Okay, you should give some cases. Then we have some quotings. Then we have citing, referencing should be one of the cases which we are going to focus. So let me pin you here or point you here. What do you mean research? What do you mean research? Okay, you see, research is a procedures by which we attempt systematically to find the answer to a question, or we can resolve problems with support of some demonstrable fact. There is a question, okay, there is answer. So whenever we are using a process to solve that question is what you call as research. This is Liddy in 1989 defined it by this way, okay? The second one is, what do you mean research? Again, it's systematic investigation into study material. You should have some sources. In this case, you want to, establish a fact, and based on that, to a new conclusions. You come up with a new conclusions. This is especially you can find as reference in Oxford cases. So, in short, if you see some of the case which we are going to see, especially when we see about research, it's a cycle. It's a cycle which we can see. Maybe if it's possible, let me share you one material so that we can see how those cycles are going on. I don't know if it works. I will share you one. It's not working. I will share more material. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, wait. I will add. Six 9102. Okay. If it works, I will share. This technology, you know. You should come up here. Security, maybe. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Just 2 minutes. Yeah, here we go. So, yeah, if you see here, we have research when we see about it is a cycle. The cycle, you know, it starts from you. Okay. As you can see, you can identify the research area where you are going to do those researches. Once you identify those researches, then you can design. Suppose if you want to study about the collapse of bridge, okay? So that is the research area. Once the collapse of the bridge, then you can design the study, how you can study that based on the test data, based on the questionnaires you are going to do, collect some of the questions. Is that the case study you are going to do? Sometimes, you know, you can work on case studies. So then once you know that you designed, based on that design, you can go for conduct the research. Okay? Whenever you are conducting the research, are you going to do modeling or some laboratory testing or experimental? Okay, you should conduct those cases. Once you have that, you can analyze the research. Analysis are there. Analysis having some data. No, you have that data. Based on that data, you can go for analyze your research. That means showing for the audience that the results. Okay, the results, showing you the audience that okay, the collapse of the bridge that because of some flood, you will show them about your result. And finally, you can publish research results. You can publish in terms of books, journals, articles, whatever, depending upon the source. Here are the research questions which you are going to do whenever you come to the research. I think there are four important questions which we are going to address. The first one is, as I said in introduction parts, first you can define a title, then you have some objectives, aims, goals. That means, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So that result starts from the title. The title is objectives. So once you define, as I said, okay, collapse of bridge, that's your title. Then why are you going to do? You know, the objective is, you know, to assess maybe the collapsing mechanisms. Is that the collapse because of the flood, or is that because of the overweight, the bridge collapsed, or is that because of some, you know, the design period over, or the design life over, or maybe the bridge abutment scoring off. There are so many reasons. So why are you going to do? So that comes from problem statement. Problem statements that, you know, the bridges are, you know, connecting two societies. Let us say from Adama to Addis, we have one bridge. Let us say we have one bridge connecting to Adama to Addis. If the bridge collapsed, so there is no way that these two cities may connected. So in this case, are you going to do this research for problem solving or for contribution to the study? Sometimes, you know, the contribution of the studies, there are cumulative of the studies come to the solutions for the society. Then once you define those one, then how are you going to do? Then the methodology comes. Okay, to do this, I want to go for sites, maybe visualizations, okay, or maybe I will conduct some data, collecting the data for questionnaire, or I will collect some of the soil data for testing, or some bridges for maybe concrete testings. Then to do that, what kind of methodology are you going to do? Methodology could is experimental or mathematical model or whatever, so you can go for that. Then the fourth one is, when are you going to do planning? You can plan. Let us say you are graduating class, maybe, okay? So in that case, I have 6 months, maybe 1 month for data collections, another month for analysis, then the last 2 months maybe for validity check and the you know, publications. That means you can print your materials and to submit. So these are the case which we are going to do. So as we said, we have 4 questions. What are you going to do? Why are you going to do? How are you going to do? And then when are you going to do? So in this case, where can we get the research problems? So the research problem is the first point to identify. The first task is you to solve a problem. The first task is research problems. Okay. So from where can you get? From where can you get? The first one, as we said, is a question. Something's coming to mind. A question. Why is this research? Why this bridge failed? That some can come to your questions. This is one case. Second one is if there is an unresolved controversy. There is unresolved controversy when the people are doing come to the research. Okay, you know, some things which come to an end. Let us say the sun rays in the east. So ምሳሌ ፀሐይ ከምዕራብ ይወጣል በምስራቅ ይጠልቃል። Sunrise in east and set in west. So such kinds are, by study, people studied so many things and they solved. If some things are not unresolved, let us say the COVID issue, if you say COVID-19. Some are saying it was maybe biological, some say laboratorical, some human. If some things are unresolved, you can go for research. If there is a gap in knowledge, okay? If in such kind of cases, we can go for different cases. Let us say, if you see some of the programming issues, some are solving those programming. If you see C++, okay, some say, okay, it is easy for understanding visually, some say not. So if there is any gap in knowledge, you can go. And if it is unanswered needs, we need something, but it's not unanswered. COVID issue, not unanswered. Even if they are saying maybe if you know the cases for some 6 months, the cases are increasing. Of course, we get some vaccine, but the vaccines are, some are saying 99%, some are 80%. Still now, there are unanswered needs. Such kind of issues may initiate us to go for research. So the idea is that, as we said, title, aims and objective. What are you going to do? So in this case, when we say about a good title, that is a catchy title. People are saying a catchy title. That means everybody can understand your title. Of course, in that case, it should be the people who are working on the same areas, on the same areas. Okay? That means we are not expecting from other, for instance, from the social study group may understand directly from engineering field or from engineering concept, but at least for those who are in the same community, on the same professionals, they can understand directly what you are going to convey for the people, for the nation, societies on that areas. So in this case, these are important toward when we start from the beginning of the title. And we recommend that at least the title should be in 1 line, if not maximum 2 lines, not more than that. It should be easy for people to make a catchy title. So in this case, don't use any confusing words or abbreviation in title. That is the case. So the second one is abstract next to title. Abstract in the cases which we can see that this is presented in the beginning as a proposal or final report. But in the case of proposals, you should convey the message in terms of the future tense, because you are going to do. That means, however, the final paper also, it comes later. That means in between the abstract are developing through the result whenever you are getting on that case. So in short, abstract is a summary of the whole proposal or the whole final paper. If someone reads your summary correctly, then they can understand that what type of works are included inside your work. Here in abstract, the most important things are the introduction part, as well as the methodology part. Then the result and the discussion should be included. Okay, this part should be included, especially if it is a final work or final paper. You can include the result as it is. But if it is in proposal, you can submit the expected result. What are the expected results? Submitted in your work, in your work case. So in short, whenever you are preparing your abstract, it is up to 250 words. However, you can use the past tense whenever you are conveying the information, and this information is should include, as I said, as introduction part on the body parts, and you can include some of simple summaries which include the case. An example, as I said earlier, the research was conducted, the observations were made. You can use past tense on this case. When, as I mentioned earlier, as preparing your abstract, use for future tenses for proposals. The data will be collected, relationship will be developed, and so on. So you don't know what's going on, but later you can use. In this case, avoid the use of personal experience and opinions. As my understanding, the result will be like that. Or remember, all those abstract comes first. It should be prepared last, like that. Avoid any referencing quotes on abstract parts. Whenever you are coming to the aims and objectives, these aims are broad statements of desired outcomes. So you can explain about the outcomes for the reader, that the reader understand what the outcomes are explaining. And here, what is to be accomplished here as aim, you can explain what's to be accomplished as the end, the outcome of your research, the outcome of your proposals. And as well as in long term or short terms, you can explain in detail how it works. Then coming to the objectives, especially the objective should be, is accomplished one. So whenever you are, we have general objective and the specific objectives. We can divide this into two. Here, you should focus. You should be focused. And that focus should be feasible. You can do researches on the areas of the feasible outcome. You should make accurate use of concepts. What kind of concept are you going to use? And it should be, sensible and precisely described. And as objective, maybe in one paragraph. And the specific objective should be from 3 to 5 points, not more than that. That means whenever you have general objectives, whenever you are explaining those, and it is from 3 to 5 case. Okay. When you see about the good objectives in communicating your intent, you should know well, and there leaves little room for interpretations. You know, in this case, you should avoid using the following verbs whenever you are writing objectives: to learn, to conduct, to understand, to know, to collect. You know, when you say about to learn, it is, you know, the effect of aggregate gradations and the fineness of the properties of the concrete. To learn. Don't use such kind of words that are, you know, confusing others on such areas. Then coming to the problem statement, it's a description of an issues, you know, that needs to be researched and to see whether a solution can be found. That means the problem statement, as said earlier, it comes from your problems, and the problems that maybe, you know, solving for the societies, or it could you know, give some contribution to the academic society. So you can focus on that areas. It is a basis for the introductory section of your final report. That means whenever there are different readers, you know, it detecting, directing readers to attention quickly to the issues that your research projects will address. So whenever the research problems are there, it will address that issues. However, it should be short and concise. The problem statement will be short and concise. You may have some 1 over 2 pages to go on those cases. So when you preparing your problem statement, you know, it should consist of 3 parts. The first one is the ideal part. So the ideal part, it explains how things should be, how your research should continue in what matters. The ideal. The second one is the reality. That means it explains the current situations or the goals or ideal. You should focus on some of the reality. And the third one is the consequence. What are the consequences? After you conduct your research, what are the consequences for the result? So it identifies the way you propose or improve the situation, the current situations, and it can move to the goal, how you are reaching to the goal or to the ideal point whenever you are going on that situations. As an example of the cases, if you see, let us say, as an example of problem statement as an ideal, in order to accomplish their missions, public universities in Kenya need motivated workforce. The public university in Kenya or Ethiopia, they come up with, you know, motivated workforce. Then what are the reality? These are the ideals. The ideal situation is just you can think in ideal situations. The reality is that there are, however, frequent and severe disciplinary actions, absenteeism, as well as various forms of universities in Kenya and public universities, which affect the accomplishment of the set missions. Our preliminary investigation reveals that both non-management and the management staff are not adequately motivated. These are the reality. Then what is the consequence? without effective motivations packets in the procedures, the said fees are likely to continue and retard the achievement of the university's missions. Need arises to examine the public universities' motivation systems and the procedures, hence this proposed research. Okay. So these are the situations. In this case, I want to ask you to write your own problem statements in terms of ideal, reality, and the consequence. Please write a short, maybe 2-3 paragraphs by your own words of your title. What are the ideal situations and what are the reality and the consequence? This is left for you as an exercise. Then coming to the research contributions, when we see about the research contributions that especially the research maybe new research, or some of the researches are research which are modified research, as an example. So in such kind of situations, let me show you maybe this form and maybe this form. So through the research, okay, they are saying these are a small phone, there is no touch, it's only using for the dial purpose. Okay. However, when it comes to maybe these smartphone, you can use different activities. Maybe camera is there, or video, or voicemail, voice message, voicemail. So the first one, is the new one. People thought that it connecting people from one place to another. Of course, on that times there was no internet, or there was no such fast communications. But through time, they are maybe adapting or adoptions. Whenever you see adapting means directly you can adapt one system from somewhere, some countries, let us say building code, you can adapt the building code from European and use rather than new one. Or you can have your own Ethiopian style or whatever. So such kind of cases, is that the new one you are working, or is that the old one to modify? Or is that you are working, you are seeing a gap between filling the gap? So in which areas your research is basically focus on? So you should clearly set your goals, set your objectives from your derived title and from your aims. You can come up with the situations. The first one is to demonstrate in a sentence how your research matters to the general public. There are some public societies which are looking for your solutions, because last times when the graduating classes, I was visiting some of the promising, projects. Promising projects. Some are, solving problems for one of the cities for shortage of water problems or networking cases. Some are working on areas on different situations. So you should clearly show that to the general public how it works. Then, you know, you can review and summarize literature review. Let us say for the last 10 years, there were different research conducted specifically to your research areas, specifically to your research title, to your problems. Then you can summarize what was the result, in which areas they were lacking. So from that areas, you know, it will divert you to do the new research, or it will divert you to do the gap, because there is a gap between two situations. Let me give you one example. Previously, you know that whenever you are designing, for instance, a house, let us say villa house, from the center to the center of the column spacing from center to center is not maximum 5 meters previously, okay? Not maximum 5 meters. They are recommending maybe 3 meters, 4 meters. Even sometimes in warehouse, the maximum allowing you to 5 meters. And if you apply this on the basement, it is difficult, especially for storage, as well as for car parking and so on. With this regardless, now, thanks to technology, if you are using some post-tensioning, you can go maybe up to 7 meters, 8 meters. So it allows you more spacing, more circular place to use. So this is a gap, okay? From starting from some points, you can use gaps to identify those situations. Then you can show that there is something missing. Let us say the concrete strength C25. For a long time, people were working for concrete strength, maybe C25. And in every design, you want to use C25. What does it C25? C25, let us say, a concrete strength with 25 megapascal. So research people found that there was a missing that whenever we were using C25 concrete for foundations, it doesn't give the strength which it attains on that time. And for instance, around in 19th centuries, early around 1818, building constructions, people were working on G+2, G+1, and so on. Now, G+100, 200, 300. So the concrete strength changed from C25, maybe C19, C30, C45, now C100, C75, C19. So this is a missing gap come up to fill the gap. That is the case which you are working. Then what is your contribution? Especially, where is your gap? Where you are filling the gap? That related to own problem. Okay. Let me say something about literature review, and maybe we can conclude for this lecture. When we say about literature review, especially as you can see on the right side, on the right top here, on this side, okay, on this area, you have a number of books, journals, okay, and if you see some head with A's on these areas, it's showing you that you are searching. So in short, the literature review is that what has already been said on the topic on the last, and who was the writers, who are the writers, who wrote this, and is there any, you know, we have defined facts, then we have theories, hypotheses, which hypotheses they used, and what questions are being asked on that literatures, and finally what kind of methodologies and what kind of methods are appropriate and useful. So you can find those things from literatures, from relate to your topics. Let us say road failures. Road failures. There are different kinds of road failures. So relate to that road failures. Is that road failed because of the traffic or because of the poor performance of the subgrade? Or is that because of some drainage? So what has been said? As I said, your topics are road failures. So you can see on that areas what has been said already. Then who the writers are, then it comes in your mind. Is that published in journals? Was that in books? Or was that on thesis? Who's the writers? Is that from academics, some professors or some masters, whatever? Of course, sometimes the writers are related with the publishers. Let us say Addis Ababa University publisher, Adama University publisher, Adama Science and Technology University, or whatever. So you focus on some publishers. What was the theories developed that to use the road failures? Okay, that the theories developed. You should focus on those cases, hypotheses, to solve problems, to solve problems. Let us say the pothole is one of the road failure. How they attempted those pothole, or maybe if there is a traffic, high jam traffic or heavy traffic, there may be some deformation of the road. So which kind of attempts they used to solve that problems? Then what kind of questions raised as that, and how your question is different from them? Okay, let us say they classified 5 types of road failure. Are you going to do the new, are you going to find the new road failure, or you are just proposing a solution for those road failures? Then what kind of methodologies they used? Okay, they collected some sample from the failure to road and they conducted a test. Then the test results show that the deformation is because of the traffic. Or visually, you go site over there, visualize, take pictures, photos, videos or whatever, then you can analyze there later. Later you can analyze those cases. Or questionnaire, maybe interview. You can go for some of the questionnaires, interviews on site level. Maybe people who were living on that areas at that times. So you can use such kind of methodologies used. And was that method appropriate? If that methods are not appropriate, you are going to suggest a new one. Okay, that method was not working properly. Then you can suggest your new method on that case. Then what sources are considered and what sources are valid? Do we mean valid and non-valid sources? Yes. So whenever you are conducting your literatures, you should focus on areas, sources that are written and published. One. Let us say journal of articles. We have different journals, maybe American Society of Civil Engineers, which belongs to us. Okay. We have Journal of Material Engineering, Journal of Geotechnical, Journal of Structurals. We have SCI indexed, SCI. You can write these words, S, capital C, and capital I. S means, we have scientific citation index. Sometimes SSCI means social science index. So we have different index journals. Again, we have conference proceedings. Conference proceeding means you can prepare, maybe I will show you the conference proceedings one time. I presented in some conferences. So these proceedings relate to the conference, or workshop. There may be hundreds of people submitted their conference workshop papers, later that published. There are different books. You may quote not only the whole book, maybe one chapter or one paragraph. So you can go for that case. Different books related to maybe construction materials, highways, dams, so many books. Then historical records. These are very important, especially when you see about earthquake engineering. Whenever you are designing your structure for earthquake resistances, you can have only one chance to go historical records. Let us say in 1994, Niigata earthquake or Alaska earthquake. So the earthquake values which we are designing, let us say AG, is the ground acceleration is 0.5 G. What does it mean? AG is equal to 0.5 G. So G stands for, let us say, 9.81 or whatever. And that G is the ground maximum acceleration. G is not 9.81, that is the ground maximum acceleration. You can determine from different mechanisms. However, historical data historical records. As second example, as meteorological data. What is the number of millimeters of drops on the last 15 years in Addis Ababa and around, maybe Mojo, Adama, whatever. That is very important. Then government records. Government records, let us say, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia published a GTP1 and the GTP2. GTP1 means growth and transformational plan 1, ground and transformational plan 2 for the last. Now this year the government published maybe for the 10 years plan, developmental plan. So you can take some data from that. Okay, let us say for the coming 10 years, the government said to construct 4 million, more than 4 million houses, 4,200,000 something. So with this regard, how can we construct those buildings? This is kind of research for you. Then newspaper articles, maybe journal articles and so on. Let us say we have a reporter journal in Ethiopia, in Amharic or English versions. Ethiopian Herald, Amharic English versions. Okay. Then Abyssinia, whatever, national, there are so many. So that gave you datas, published datas. Maybe you can check the figures, the validity, maybe the data is correct or not, we don't know. But we can see about, at least we have initial data. At least we have initial, let us say, the number of casualties because of safety in building construction is, let us say, 100 in a year. That means, in short, 100 people injured or died due to health case, due to health and safety in building construction. This was published, let us say, in a reporter. I was just quoting reporter whenever you are writing this on your literature review. You trusted that the information published on reporter was correct. However, when a reporter was also publishing this on their journal, they were quoting some government official or some institution or agency that they got the data. Let us say we have a census agency or a fire bridge, or we may have some health, Ministry of Works, and Ministry of Works and Urban Development, or Ministry of Construction and Urban Development, or Ministry of Labor Organization, whatever. So they were quoting that so that you accepting that this information is correct. Then thesis, you know, especially that was published as master's thesis or PhD thesis, whatever. Actually, thesis and the dissertation are almost the same. The dissertation somehow the PhD one, and thesis maybe for master's one. So again, that conducted so different methodologies, researches conducted, and we are accepting that those research results are correct. Published one, maybe 6 months, half years, 3 years, whatever. However, we should check that, cross-check with other research that that research are correct or not. We should cross-check, otherwise it's difficult to go. Then project reports, data, again, these are published. Say there were marvelous projects already completed in Addis Ababa. The initiative by His Excellency the Prime Minister Dr. Abiy, project like, let us say, Doto Park or Sugar Project Park. That means a friendship sphere and whatever. So if you got some of the projects, compile the project on that areas, and it give you a data, a number of contractors, let us say, or the project start and the finish date, or the number of new technologies that were used, and how the project completed on short period of time. When you compare with other projects in Ethiopia, which have a lot of delays, cost overrun and time delays. You can take a project, maybe Renaissance Dam. When was it started? How's the construction going on? What are the number of workers, professional as well as daily laborers, or skilled and unskilled laborers, international and local? How's the technology transfer? So there are published data, so you can pick those data from this. Then we have technical notes in the paper. Actually, technical notes in the paper are, in journal series, but these are not fulfilling the whole cases, but they focus on technical cases. You can see this from, again, you can search these papers from Google's internet. So then we have standard and specifications. Actually, to give you example, we have Ethiopian building code standards. Now that standard changed, the name was changed to compulsory standard. We have compulsory standard and a non-compulsory standard. It started from CS 141 and so on. So on those standards, values are mentioned. Whenever you are quoting those, it's already mentioned. Let us say the design period of the building in Ethiopia is 50 years, 50. It's already mentioned, so you can pick that value. The maximum settlement of foundation maybe is 50 mm. It's mentioned over there. You can pick that one. And the recurrence period, whenever you are designing buildings for structures, the recurrence period is 475 years. It was mentioned over there. So such kind of values, I'm just tipping you. You can check from that as literature. Then specifications. Specification mentioned. Let us say C25 concrete. What are the ingredients over there? You have sand, aggregate, cement, water. If there is any additional admixture, so such kind of specifications are there. If you say C25, okay, 1 bag of cement, 2 sand, 3 aggregate, maybe 100 ml of water. Then to come up to C25, what kind of curing period? You can wait until maybe 7 days, 14 days, or 28 days? And what type of test are you going to do? And you concrete cube test, you can take cube. 50 by 50 or 200 or whatever, cube. Is that cube test or circular test? Circular specimen. What are the range to do? So such kind of specifications are there. So whenever you are quoting those standard specifications, you can mention those cases. Then manuals and the guidelines. Manuals and the guidelines. So manuals and the guidelines are show you the steps. For instance, in the specification in C25, already mentioned over there, but there is no guideline. There is no guideline or manual to you steps. Guidelines are showing you the steps. Okay? Let us say it explain you the sand, the sand quantity in volume in specification. But in guideline, it show you about the type of the sand, how you are washing, by which and how you can make dry it. So those cases, guideline or manuals are showing you. And again, in guideline, let us say you have mixers or vibrators, how you are vibrating, how many minutes you are going to vibrate. Okay. Then, in which steps you are going to. First, for mixing, first you can insert cement on your mixers. This whenever the mixers are rotating, first you can insert cement or aggregate or sand, or you have 0, 0 aggregate or whatever, or 0, 2. So that explains in manuals or guideline. And with these situations, you can see about literature review. I think we can continue in our lecture 2 by using, starting from literature review. I thank you for listening this session today. You can get more videos and the lectures series through these YouTube channels. Please don't forget for subscribing and sharing for the videos. Thank you so much. See you for next. Thank you.